Have you ever felt the shattering paradox of the human heart? We are born with this profound, almost aching desire to be known, to be seen, to connect. Yet, so often it is that very attempt to connect that we experience our deepest wounds. There's a unique kind of pain, isn't there? The pain of being misunderstood, the sting of having your deepest feelings dismissed, or your purest intentions twisted. It is a feeling of dishonor. And in that moment, the heart, which was reaching out, recoils. It closes, not with a bang, but with a quiet, deadly click. A fortress of silence arises, and we might promise ourselves never again. It is safer to be alone than to be misunderstood. Okay, I want to tell you a story. It's the story of a young musician, a composer. Let's call her Elara. Elara's soul was a symphony of deep feelings. When she was happy, her music was a cascade of light. When she was sad, her melodies could make the heavens weep. But she felt her emotional depth was a liability. People would call her too sensitive or too intense. And after a particularly painful rejection, where her most valuable, vulnerable piece of music was publicly called melodramatic, she closed the lid on her piano. She chose silence. She decided it was better to feel nothing than to feel and be dishonored for it. Elara's story is not unique. It is a story that plays out in a million hearts every single day. It is a story of a soul wrestling with its own powerful and beautiful and sometimes emotional nature. What if there was a language for this struggle, a language not of a diagnosis, but of a description, a language that could offer a map back from the fortress of a closed heart to the open field of connection? Now, there is such a language. One of them is called human design. Now, I want you to picture something in your mind's eye. Imagine a blueprint of a human being, not of bones and of blood, but of light and energy. A complex circuit board of 9 glowing energy centers connected by intricate pathways. This is a map of your energetic anatomy, your unique wiring. Human design is a language that helps us read that map. It's a tool, fallible, sure, but useful tool for understanding the currents that run through us. Today, we're going to focus on the most powerful and turbulent areas on the map, the emotional part, the solar plexus. Imagine it as a cauldron of raw feelings, a motor of immense passion. It doesn't operate in a straight line, it operates in a wave, a constant cycle from hope to pain, from elation to melancholy. It is a source of capacity of profound love, devastating heartbreak, and transcendent art. And within the emotional center are specific frequency or gates. Think of them as individual notes on a grand chord of our humanity. Everyone has access to all 64 notes. But for some of us, certain notes are written into the core melody. This is our nature, and how we are nurtured, the choices we make, determines the quality of how that note is played. We are here today to listen to one of the most poignant notes in the entire human symphony, a frequency so powerful it can define our social lives, our creativity, and our spiritual journey. We are here to talk about Human Design Gate 22. In the language of human design, it's called the Gate of Openness, but I prefer to call it by its most profound potential, the Gate of Grace. To truly understand this energy, I want you to continue with a metaphor. Think of your soul as a sacred inner garden. Gate 22 is a very special plot of land within the garden, a place where your emotions grow. And like any garden, its vitality depends on 3 key factors. You can imagine them as your personal, emotional sliders. The first slider is intensity. This is the weather in your garden. For some, the weather is dramatic, fierce storms and brilliant, scorching sunshine. They feel epic highs and profound lows. For others, it's a gentler climate of soft rain and hazy light. There is no right or wrong weather. The challenge is to become a wise gardener who knows how to handle both drought and downpour. The second slider, frequency. How often are you called to tend this specific plot? If Gate 22 is consistently defined in your energetic blueprint, this garden is your primary responsibility. You are frequently navigating your moods and their social implications. If not, you still have access to it. You get to visit the garden in others, or when the heavens water it for you. You get to learn its lessons, even if you don't necessarily live there. And the third most vital slider is quality. This is where your agency, your soul's work, truly lies. The quality of your garden is determined by what you choose to cultivate. In the garden of Gate 22, you can grow two very different things. At its lowest quality, in the untended, shadowy soil, what grows is the weed of dishonor. This is the garden choked with bitterness, resentment, and self-pity. When we live from this place, we see the world through the lens of our wounds. Every interaction is a potential slight. Every silence is proof of abandonment. This was the garden of Elara. After she closed her piano, her silence wasn't peaceful. It was a thorny, defensive patch of ground where nothing beautiful could grow. But, well, there is another possibility. Through conscious, patient effort, we can begin to tend this garden. This is the cultivation of the gift of graciousness. Graciousness is the art of emotional gardening. It is not the absence of storms, but the wisdom to know that storms pass. It is not the absence of weeds, but the willingness to kneel in the dirt and tend the soil. A gracious person feels their sadness, but they do not drown the world in it. They feel their anger, but they do not use it as a weapon. They learn to be authentic to their own feelings while communicating them with care and exquisite timing. This is the turning point for our artist, Elara. Imagine one day alone in her silent room, she feels the familiar ache of melancholy, but instead of cursing it, she simply sits with it. And in that quiet allowance, her fingers find their way back to the piano keys. She doesn't try to write a happy tune. She plays the sound of her sadness. And in so doing, she transforms it. The music that emerges is not melodrama. It is a thing of profound, heartbreaking beauty. She has turned the lead of her pain into gold of her art. This is the alchemy of graciousness. This energy, this melody of grace, is designed to be shared. Gate 22 reaches from the emotional garden towards the throat center, our center of expression. When it connects with its partner, Gate 12, it forms the channel of openness. It's the design of someone who must be, quote, in the mood to share their inner world. When they can captivate us, heal us, and open our hearts with their words, their art, their very presence. When they are not, they teach us the beauty of respectful silence. This is an individual, mutative energy. This means it's here to bring something new, to change the frequency of the room. And this is why people on this path can feel different, even lonely. That melancholy they often feel is not a flaw. It's the quiet hum of the soul that is tuned to a deeper, more sensitive reality. It is the fuel of their unique contribution. Now, this garden of grace doesn't just grow in one way. The energy of Gate 22 has distinct expressions. We often call them lines, 6 stages of the path, 6 ways it's expressed in the path of cultivating grace. The first is the path of humility. Learning to find grace is listening and supporting rather than demanding spotlight. The second is the path of style, learning to align one's outer charm with inner substance, so it's not just performance. The third, the path of the enchanter, learning to handle the potent, fleeting connections one can make without leaving a trail of broken hearts. The fourth is the path of sensitivity, the networker, learning to be tactful and attuned to the needs of their community. Now, the fifth is the path of directness, the most individual, learning to honor one's emotion through truth, even if it defies social convention. It's the art of saying no, gracefully. And the sixth is the path of the role model, the one who, after walking all the other paths, embodies a mature, visionary grace that inspires and guides others. Each of us, in our relationship with this energy, is learning one of these lessons, or multiple, at least one. The patient tending, this journey through the 6 paths leads to the highest potential of this energy. It is more than a gift we share. It becomes a state of being. The highest expression of Gate 22 is grace, grace itself. If graciousness is the gardener, grace is the garden in full, miraculous bloom. It is the state where the soul has been so thoroughly tilled by love and forgiveness that its very fragrance brings others peace. It is the embodiment of pure, unconditional love. The great spiritual traditions all point towards this reality. They show us that the universal path of the soul is a journey from brokenness to wholeness, from fear to love. The poet Rumi wrote, quote, "The wound is the place where the light enters you." The journey from dishonor to graciousness is the process of keeping the wound open just enough for the light to enter. And for me, the most flawless pattern of this journey is demonstrated in the life of Jesus Christ. He was a man of deep feeling. He wept. He felt anguish. He knew betrayal. And in his moment of ultimate dishonor, facing the hatred of the world, his soul produced the most beautiful flower in human history, a prayer of forgiveness. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. That is grace. It is a love that absorbs all bitterness and offers only sweetness in return. It is a light that cannot be extinguished by darkness. This may feel like a distant, unattainable ideal, but the path to grace is not a single leap. It is a series of small, gentle steps taken every day. It is about how we make decisions, big and small. In human design, we learn that each of us has an inner authority, a head of the council, to guide our choices. But every gate, every energy has a voice on that council as well. Gate 22 is the voice of the wise, emotionally intelligent advisor. To a person with gut-level sacral authority, it might whisper, yes, your gut says, but are you in the right mood to commit to this right now? To a person with an intuitive authority, it might add, your intuition says this is not safe. But how can you communicate that with kindness so you don't burn the bridge? This inner advisor of grace helps us time our actions and consider our impact, ensuring our decisions land not just correctly, but beautifully. And this leads to our practical daily work. The tending of your own garden, it starts with awareness. Start to notice your emotional weather without judgment. When you're in a low mood, can you just let it be? Can you be gentle with yourself instead of forcing a smile? It continues with communication. Learn to express your state gracefully. To your partner, I'm feeling really emotional right now, and it's not about you. I need a little quiet. This is an act of profound kindness, and it's perfected in listening. One of the greatest gifts of Gate 22 is the ability to listen. When you give someone the gift of your full, gracious attention, you are giving them a taste of grace. You are creating a sanctuary where they can be real. I'd like to share a poem about this sacred work. Your heart is not a fortress but a field, a plot of holy ground, a sacred yield. And you, the tender of this precious land, with wounded, wise, and wonder-working hand, the world will come and sow its seed of slight, the bitter herbs of judgment in the night, and you will weep to see the thistle rise, to feel the barren dust sting in your eyes. But do not curse the ground, nor curse the rain, the sharp, unwelcome sacrament of pain. But kneel, and feel the texture of your grief, and know the turning of the weathered leaf. For this is tending, with a patient breath, to sit beside the small and silent death, to pull the root of bitterness and see the space it leaves for what is yet to be. The plant of seed of pardon, small and deep, and water it with promises you keep to your own soul, and wait. The grace will grow. It is the only harvest you must know. In a world that is increasingly loud, polarized, and quick to judge, the energy of Gate 22 is not a luxury. It is a medicine. The world doesn't need more opinions. It needs more presence. It doesn't need more judgment. It needs more empathy. It needs more messy, authentic, courageous, open hearts. Perhaps you came here today, or came to a framework like human design because you felt that something was missing. You felt maybe a particular traditional institution did not have a language for, or you didn't understand their language for, the deep and complex symphony of your soul. You're not alone. So many are searching. But what if this language is not a destination, but a bridge to help you understand the eternal principles that were there all along? The truth is that gospel of divine love has never been about suppressing our humanity, but about sanctifying it. It teaches that our deepest feelings are not a bug in the system. They are a feature of our divine design, intended to teach us how to love. So, the journey of Gate 22 is the journey of every soul that seeks to live with an open heart. It is the work of transforming the barren ground of our hurts into a sanctuary of peace for ourselves and then for others. I want you to leave here today with a vision of yourself, a vision of your own inner garden. See the places that are tender. See the places that are overgrown with the weeds of old resentments. See also the places where small, beautiful things are already starting to grow. This garden is your sacred charge. Your joy, your sorrow, your quiet melancholy, your brilliant enthusiasm. They are all part of this climate. Your work is not to curse the weather, but to become a wise and loving gardener. And know this, you do not do this work alone. There is a master gardener who watches over you with infinite tenderness, who knows the name of every seed planted in your heart. The grace you are striving to cultivate is but a reflection of a greater grace that is eternally reaching for you. So, the next time you feel that familiar click of a closing heart, the next time the world dishonors the beautiful, sensitive instrument of your soul, I invite you to remember the artist, Melara, who learned to play again. I invite you to remember the garden. Take a breath, place a hand on your heart, and whisper to yourself the gardener's prayer. What needs tending here? What can I cultivate instead of curse? Then patiently, lovingly, do that. That is the path of grace, and it is the most beautiful and worthwhile journey you will ever take. Thank you, and good night.